So in 3.1, we solve systems of equations by graphing. Today we're going to look at two new ways to solve systems of equations, but both ways are algebraically. So one of them is going to be by substitution. That's the first way we're going to look at. And then the second is going to be elimination. So remember, systems of equations gives us two equations. We have to find a value for x and find a value for y. So we did that in 3.1 last week by graphing. Today we're going to look at way number 2, which is substitution, and way number 3, which is elimination. So using the substitution method to solve a systems of equations, step 1 is isolate a variable in one of the equations. So we either want it to be x equals then the rest of your equation, or y equals the rest of your equation. So you want to isolate a variable. It doesn't matter which variable. I would always just pick the one that looks the easiest, and I'll show you guys how we can identify which one looks the easiest. Then we substitute the expression for that variable in the other equation and then solve for the second variable. So this is step 2. Step 2, the gist of it is just plug in. So you plug in one equation into the other one. And then step 3 is plug in the number. So again, you're plugging in here to find the other one. So you'll find like a y equals here, and then here you would have to find x equals. So you just find one variable first in step 2, and then in step 3 you find the other one. This will make more sense once we do it in examples. Alright, so we have to solve the system by substitution. I always look for which variable doesn't have a coefficient in front of it, and that's the one I want to pick to solve for in that equation. So y here doesn't have a coefficient. So I'm going to pick this one to be y equals. So how do I move that 2x to the other side? Subtract 2x. So if y is equal to negative 2x plus 4. Once I have that y is equal to, I'm going to take this whole thing that y is equal to and plug it into y in my other equation. So since I worked with the second one first, I'm going to plug it into the first equation next. So I'm going to plug it into the other equation and just rewrite everything. So I have 3x plus 5 times negative 2x plus 4. So notice how I just plugged in this whole thing for y is equal to 13. So here, I'm going to solve for x because I only have x's in my equation. What do you think I have to do first to solve for x? Paula? Awesome. I want to distribute this 5. So everything else stays the same. I have 3x. What operation am I doing when I distribute? Multiplication. So what's 5 times negative 2x? Negative 10x. And what's 5 times 4? 20. Now I want to combine my like terms, get all my numbers to one side, all my variables to the other side. Do I have any like terms that I can combine here?
10 and 20. Negative 10.
That negative 10 has what? An x.
Oh, an x. Sorry.
So I have 3x and negative 10x. What's 3x minus 10x? Negative 7x plus 20 equals 13. What do I want to do next? Subtract 20. So I have negative 7x is equal to, what's 13 minus 20? Negative 7. Then what can I do to solve for x? Divide by negative 7. So x is equal to, what's negative 7 divided by negative 7? 1. So x is equal to 1. That's one of my answers. I also have to find what y is equal to. So to find y, I can just take x and plug it into either one of my equations. I can plug it into the original of the first one or the original of the second one. Doesn't matter. I like to plug it into whichever one looks easier. So which one do you think looks easier, first or the second? The second one, just because the numbers are a little bit smaller. Just make sure that you're plugging it in for x and not y, because this is x equals. So x is equal to 1. So I'm going to plug 1 in for x. So I have 2 times 1 plus y is equal to 4. What do I need to do first?
2 and 1.
2 times 1, which is 2. 2 plus y is equal to 4. Then what should I do? Subtract 2. So y is equal to? What's 4 minus 2? Positive 2. So those are my two answers, and I write it just like how I wrote it in the last one where we were graphing, as a point. So x always comes first, so it would be 1, 2. That's your answer. So the x comes first and then the y. 1, 2. All right, so again, we're solving the system by substitution. So step 1 is to isolate a variable. Do I already have a variable isolated? Yeah, I have x is equal to this. So once I get x is equal to, what do I do with that? Plug it into my x in the other problem. So I'm going to take this whole thing that x is equal to and plug it into this x here. So I have 8y minus 12. And then everything else stays the same. So plus 12y is equal to 68. So all I did was take this x here and plug it in right here. Just replace the x. I substituted it in. Now I want to solve. So I'm going to combine like terms first. Any like terms on one side?
8y and 12y.
So what's 8y plus 12y?
20y.
20y minus 12 is equal to 68. What can I do next?
Add 12 to both sides.
Add 12 to both sides. What's 68 plus 12? 80. Awesome. Then what should I do next? Divide each side by 20. What's 80 divided by 20? 4. So y is equal to 4. So that's one of my answers. How do I find x? Plug it in. So which equation do I want to plug it into, the first or the second? It doesn't matter. Just pick one.
Second.
Sure, let's plug it into the second. Just make sure you're plugging it into y, since it's y is equal to 4. So here I have x is equal to 8 times 4 minus 12. And then we solve. What do I have to do first here?
Multiply.
Multiply. What's 8 times 4?
32.
32. And 32 minus 12? 20. So x is equal to 20. So how would I write my answer? Nick? 20, 4. The x comes first and then the y. All right, again, doing the same thing, solving by substitution. Do I have a variable isolated already? Yep, I have q. So what do I do?
Plug in whatever is after Q on Q.
So I plug in what q is equal to into q. So I'm plugging it in right here. So I have 4p plus 2, and then I'm going to take this whole thing and plug it in here. So 2p plus 1 is equal to 8. What should I do first here?
Parentheses.
Can I add 2p plus 1?
Multiply.
Multiply by what? 2. I'm going to distribute the 2 first. And when you distribute, you multiply. So everything else stays the same. What's 2 times 2p?
4p.
4p. And what's 2 times 1?
2.
2. Do I have any like terms I can combine?
4p.
What's 4p plus 4p? 8p. 8p plus 2 equals 8. What can I do next? Subtract the 2. So 8p is equal to
-6.
8 minus 2,
Oh.
6. Then what do I do next? Divide by 8, divide by 8. So p is equal to 6 divided by 8. That's not going to be a whole number, so how can I simplify? What number goes into both 6 and 8? 2. So I'm going to divide the top by 2 and divide the bottom by 2.
3 over 4.
So I get 3 over 4. So I'm going to take this, and how do I find Q? Plug it in. What am I going to plug it into? I'm going to plug it into P. Should I use the first equation or the second one? The second one. It looks a little bit easier, so I'm just going to plug it into the second. So I'm going to plug it into P in my second equation. So I have Q is equal to 2 times 3 over 4 plus 1. How do I multiply a whole number times a fraction? So it's technically 2 over 1, so I just multiply the tops together and multiply the bottoms together. So Q is equal to, what's 2 times 3? 6 over 4 plus 1. So I'm only multiplying 2 times the 3, because technically it's 1 on the bottom of that, so it's just 1 times 4. So 6 over 4 plus 1. How do I add a whole number to a fraction? What do I need? Noah, what do I do? 1 over 1, but I still can't add these together. What has to be the same to add them? The denominator. So I have 1 over 1. How do I make this have the denominator of 4? Times 4 on the top and times 4 on the bottom. So this is technically 6 over 4 plus 4 over 4. So I just multiply to 1 to the top and the bottom. Because 4 over 4 is still 1. I'm not changing the value of anything. I'm just changing the way that it looks. Now, how do I add fractions?
Add the top, keep the denominator the same.
Add the tops and keep the denominator the same. So it's 6 plus 4. 10 over 4. And can I simplify this?
5 over 2.
Divide by 2, divide by 2, so this becomes 5 over 2. And how would I write my answer?
5 over 2, comma 3 over 4.
What in the alphabet comes first, P or Q?
Oh, I thought it was X and that. Yeah, 3 over 4, comma 5 over 2.
3 over 4, comma 5 over 2. This one was just a little bit tricky because it didn't give you X and Y's, but P comes before Q in the alphabet, so it just comes before it when we write it. So in elimination, our goal is exactly what it is. Eliminate one of our variables first. So in order to do that, you need opposites of that variable. So here I have opposites. I have 4x and a negative 4x. Opposites just meaning the signs are different. What's 4x minus 4x? 0. So these are eliminated. Just cancel them out. So what I'm doing is just adding the first equation to the second one. I'm adding everything together. Our first variables cancel. What's 2y plus 3y? 5y. And then what's 9 plus 16? 25. So now I have 5y is equal to 25. What do I do next? Divide. And what's 25 divided by 5? 5. So y is equal to 5. That's one of my answers. How do I find what x is equal to? Plug it back in. Same way I did with substitution. The only difference in substitution and elimination is just the way that we found that first variable. Do I want to plug it into the first or the second? The first one. It looks a little bit easier. So I'm going to plug it into the first. So here I have 4x plus 2. What's y? 5. So 2 times 5 is equal to 9. What do I have to do first? Multiply. So 4x plus, what's 2 times 5? 10 is equal to 9. Then what should I do? Subtract 10. So 4x is equal to? What's 9 minus 10? Negative 1. And then what should I do? Divide. So what's x equal to? Negative 1 over 4. How would I write my answer? Negative 1 over 4 comma 5. The x comes first and then the y. Okay, so number 5. What should I do first? Cancel out the 3. So I'm adding both my equations together. The 3's cancel. What's y minus y? Y minus y. They're both, well, one is plus and the other one's minus.
Oh, it looks like a negative.
Sorry. So what is it? 0. And then what's negative 5 plus 5? 0. So 0 equals 0. Everything ended up canceling out. When you get 0 equals 0, your answer is infinitely many solutions. So it doesn't matter what number I plug into x, I'll have a number for y that makes the equation true. So when everything cancels out, you get 0 equals 0. Your answer is infinitely many solutions.
Do you have to do like the work?
All right, the next one. So what should we do first? Cancel out the 4's, the 4x's. The 6, negative 6y plus 6y, they cancel. So what are we left with on the left side of our equation? 0. And then what's 6 plus 10? 16. Is 0 equal to 16? Nope. So here we would have no solution. So just notice the difference in the last two. If 0 equals 0, that's true always. So you have infinitely many solutions. If 0 is equal to some number that's not 0, then you would have no solution. So the second half of the homework for 7 through 12, it says solve each system by elimination. Sometimes our equations won't have one that eliminates right away. Actually, I'm going to do number 11 with you. I like 11 better. So looking at number 11.
I think what you do first is you multiply the y by 3. Or you multiply the whole solution by 3.
Awesome. So you want to cancel out the y's first. You can pick which one. You could either cancel out the x's or you could cancel out the y's. Y is a great choice here because I can get this plus 3y to look like a plus. I can get the plus y to look like a plus 3. That way it cancels out. But I have to multiply everything in the equation by 3. So I'm multiplying 4x times 3, y times 3, and 14 times 3. So my new second equation, what's 4x times 3? 4x times 3, 12x. And what's y times 3? 3y. And 14 times 3? 42. I'm just going to take my original first equation and just rewrite it down here just to see it a little bit better. So 3x minus 3y is equal to 3. Because I want my y's to cancel. So since I had a negative 3y, I want the other one to be a positive 3y. And since it was just a plus y, I had to multiply everything in that equation by 3. So everything gets multiplied times 3. So now do my y's cancel? Yep, I have a negative 3y plus 3y, so they cancel. So I'm just adding everything together. What's negative 3x plus 12x? 9x. And what's 3 plus 42? 45. What should I do next to solve for x? Divide by 9. So what's x equal to? 5. So that's one of my answers. How do I find the other one? Plug it in. Which equation do I want to plug it into? The first one? I can. That works. I would probably pick the second one just because the y is all by itself, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to plug it into the first one, but just make sure you plug it into x. So here I have negative 3 times 5 minus 3y is equal to 3. What's negative 3 times 5?
Negative 15.
Negative 15 minus 3y is equal to 3. What can I do next? Do what?
Minus 15
Plus 15 to both sides, so it'll cancel. So negative 3y is equal to, what's 3 plus 15? 18. And then what can I do? Divide both sides by negative 3. So what's 18 divided by negative 3? Negative 6. So how would I write my answer? 5 comma negative 6. Awesome. The x comes first, then the y.